Venkad Rao. Program of Electrical Engineering welcomes all students. So for this academic year 2020-21, for the TY class, for the 5th semester, there is a subject named Energy Conservation and Audit, and its abbreviation is ECA. The subject code is 22525 and the course coordinator or the faculty is Mrs. A.A. Kekre. So before proceeding to our next slides, we must know that why this subject is introduced for final year diploma student. So basically we know that in India there is a demand of electricity is increasing day by day because due to the increase in population, due to the growth in industrial sector, more commercialization, and we are adopting modern lifestyle. That is, we are using more comfortable equipments for getting our work done. So because of all these reasons, the total energy or electricity demand is increased. On the other hand, if we see the generation in India is as it is, that is, it is not increased as the demand increases day by day. And obviously, it is not a feasible or affordable solution to increase a plant as a demand increases. Hence, there is a gap between energy demand and energy supply. That is electricity supply and electricity generation. So, to bridge the gap between electrical supply and electrical demand, there is a single and simple step which is known as energy conservation. So students, through this subject, you all come to know that where are the sectors we can save the energy and what are the different simple steps by using them we can save the energy. So the motto of introducing this subject is student know how we can save energy in different sectors and creating awareness among the student about the energy conservation. And obviously by doing energy conservation we are having benefits from it. So let's start our subject. So before starting actual content of the subject, we'll first see its teaching scheme and examination scheme. So MSBT allotted 3 lectures per week, no tutorials, but practicals hours that are 2 are allocated per week. So this subject carries total 5 credits. Now examination scheme. So examination scheme has again 2 parts, theory and practical. So again theory, for this subject MSBT set a paper of 70 marks for 3 hours and minimum you have to score 28 marks for the passing. Now next is PA, that is progressive assessment. So for this 30 marks are allocated, out of which 20 marks are the average of unit test 1 and unit test 2. And the 10 marks are for the micro project which student carries over the semester. So this is of 30 marks. So for theory, total marks are 70 plus 30, 100 marks. Now practical. So this subject is having practical and it is having external practical of 25 marks. And also this subject is having manual which has 25 marks in progressive assessment. So practical carries total 25 plus 25, 50 marks. So for this subject, MSBT has given 150 marks in the examination scheme. Now, how many chapters are in this subject? So there are total 5 chapters in this subject. So we'll see one by one. So first chapter is Energy Conservation Basics and it is having 8 marks. Second is Energy Conservation in Electrical Machines. It is having 14 marks. Chapter 3 Energy Conservation Techniques in Electrical Installation Systems having 16 marks. Energy Conservation through Co-Generation and Tariff having 16 marks. Energy Audit of Electrical System having 16 marks. So these are the chapters and the marks are allotted by the MSBT. So first chapter is energy conservation basics. So in this chapter I'll give brief overview of this chapter is. So in this chapter we are going to see what are the different policies, government organization which works for the energy conservations, and what are the roles and or functions of these organizations and importance of these organization. Energy Conservation Act, what is energy conservation, what is energy audit, and the difference between two. These all points we are going to see in this energy conservation basics. Okay. So the course outcome for this particular topic is interpret energy conservation policies in India. Means at the end of this chapter, student will able to interpret different energy conservation policies which are implemented in India. So for this lecture, actual content are primary and secondary energy, energy demand and supply, national energy scenario. Second point, energy conservation and energy audit, concept and difference. Third point, Energy Conservation Act 2001 and relevant clauses of energy conservation included in it. So these are the 3 points which we are going to see in this session. So moving towards our first point, primary and secondary energy, energy demand and energy supply, national or Indian energy scenario. So students, the energy sources are classified into two categories, primary energy and secondary energy. So what is primary energy? So primary energy is the energy source which we find in nature in its own shape or in its own properties. There are no any interference of man or the human. So these sources are found in nature, and such a sources we can harnessed, reaped by different processes. So for example of this primary energy sources are natural gas, a natural coal or raw coal which is not at all processed. Next, biomass, flowing water, wind and solar radiation. So these are the sources which found in nature naturally. There is no any interference of human being. So these are the primary energy sources. Even we can say it as these sources are gifted by the nature to the human being. And obviously they are available in nature at a free of cost. So now we'll see what is secondary energy. So secondary energy or secondary energy sources are those sources which are converted, transformed by doing different processes on primary energy sources. Such a sources directly not available in nature, but we have to transform, we have to convert by different processes. Example of this, petroleum products, electricity, heat, biofuels. So the electricity, as we are electrical engineer, how electricity is generated, that we have seen in electrical power generations. So by burning the coal we are creating heat, and by using the heat we are generating steam, and by using steam we are running the turbine, and turbine and alternators are coupled with each other and electricity is generated in the alternator. So basic primary fuel we have used coal, and then we are getting electricity. So this is secondary energy sources in which there is definitely interference of human being. So the next slide will show how this transformation is done. So here we have seen primary energy, and to the transformation by the conversion we are getting the secondary energy, and then we are using it for the different purpose. So here some example of energy sources, primary energy sources are given like crude oil, hard coal, natural gas in liquid form, natural gas in gaseous form, nuclear energy. We can say these are the raw materials or raw energy sources available in nature. Similarly, wind, geothermal, biomass, hydroelectricity, that is by using water we are generating electricity, that is water, and tidal energy sources. So these are the basically natural energy sources or primary energy sources. If we convert these sources, then we are getting the secondary energy sources, that is petroleum products, manufactured solid fuels and gaseous, electricity and heat, and biofuels. And by using secondary energy sources, we are using it for the consumption purpose. So next is energy demand and supply. So already I have explained in the first slide that there is a gap between energy demand and energy supply. So which energy we are saying? Electrical energy or electricity. So why in India the energy demand goes on increasing day by day? So following are the reasons: increase in population, increase and development in residential area, industrial growth, commercial growth, development in agriculture sector, modernization of life. So all these are the reasons to increase the energy demand. Means in industry there are number of revolutions takes place which uses more electricity for getting their work done. Commercial growth, development in agriculture sector, that is modernization in agriculture sector requires electricity demand. Modernization of life, people are adopting modern life, that is they want all the equipment which makes their work simple and comfort, like washing machine, a dishwasher, AC. So all are the comfortable equipments which helps human for reducing their work. So because of all this, there is a increase in electricity demand or energy demand. On the other hand, we'll see energy supply. So energy supply, that is electrical power generation, is as it is. Means we cannot generate as demand increases, we cannot increase generating units because we are having less quantity of fossil fuels, shortage of fuel. We are importing some fuels in which nuclear fuel is there. We are importing nuclear fuel from other countries, and the fuels is very expensive. Nuclear fuel is very expensive, and also as demand increases, we cannot increase energy supply because it is not affordable and feasible solution. Because to install a power plant, it will take a number of years for the building up the power plant. Hence it is not feasible solution, and the demand is not constant. Means someday the demand is suddenly increases, someday the demand is suddenly decreases. It is not a constant. So there is always gap between energy supply and energy demand. Like I have said, to bridge the gap, we should adopt energy conservation techniques in our day-to-day life. Now next is national or Indian energy scenario. Energy scenario means how much energy sources we are having in our country and how much energy or electricity we are generating by using these sources. Obviously the values are taken from a website. So first we'll see coal supply. In India, most of the generation is done by the coal power plant, that is 55% of the total India generation is done by the coal power plant. So here we see India has huge coal reserves, but 84,396 million tons are proven at the end of 2003. Means right now At the end of 2003, we are having 84,396 millions of tons coal reserves. And India is the fourth largest producer of coal and lignite in the world. And the pronounced states where the coal production is done are Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Orissa, Jharkhand and the West Bengal. So these states produces more coal than the rest of. And like I have said, India's most of the generation is done by the coal power plant and it contributes 55%. Now next is oil supply. So oil accounts for about 36% of India's total energy consumption. So in the current scenario, the oil consumption by the end of 2007 is expected to reach 136 million tons. The majority of India's roughly 5 billion barrels in the oil reserves means right now we are having 5.4 billion barrels in the oil reserves, and those are located Bombay High, Upper Assam, Cambay, Krishna and Godavari. So this is oil supply. India spends more than 1,10,000 crore on oil import at the end of 2004. Means we are importing oil also from the other country. Now next is natural gas. So natural gas accounts only 8.9% of total energy consumption. See, the demand of natural gas is 96 million cubic meter per day and we are having only 67 million cubic meter per day storage. So if you see 96 and 61, the demand of natural gas is 96 and we are having 67. So there is a gap between demand and supply. So by 2007, the demand is expected to increase and it is around 200 million cubic meter per day. Natural gas reserves are estimated at 660 billion cubic meters in India. Now next is electrical energy supply. So this is a secondary energy sources which we are generated through different power plants, and in India the total installed capacity of power plant was 1,12,581 megawatt as on 31st May 2004, and out of this 28,860 megawatt is done by hydropower plant, 77,931 megawatt is done by thermal power plant, 2,720 megawatt is done by nuclear power plant, and 1,869 megawatt is done by the wind power plant. So all these values are taken by Ministry of Power websites. So if you see these values, most of the generation is done by the thermal power plant. So the thermal power plant stand up first for the generation of electricity. Then second is 28,860, that is hydro. And the third is nuclear power plant. And the last is renewable energy sources, that is wind. We are generating very less amount of power by the wind. Now next is nuclear power supply. So nuclear power contributes for the generation is only 2.4% in electricity. India has 10 nuclear power reactors at 5 nuclear power plants producing electricity. So why nuclear power plant are less? Because nuclear fuel in India is less. We are importing nuclear fuel from other countries. Next, a huge technical manpower or highly skilled manpower is required for nuclear power plant control. And the next, there is a public opposition for such a type of power plant, such a power plant. So because of all these points, nuclear power plants are less in India. Now next is hydropower supply. India has very large potential of hydropower generation, that is water available, but out of which we are using only 15% for the generation. So the total generation units has steadily decreased and it is presently stands at 25% as on 31st May 2004. So this is about energy available in India. Now our second point is energy conservation and energy audit. Its concept and difference. So first we'll see what is energy conservation and then we'll proceed towards the energy audit. So here I have written three definitions through which we can define energy conservation. So in simple way, energy conservation means to save energy or to avoid or to prevent wastage of energy. And the third is to use energy efficiently or to avoid unnecessarily use of energy. So these are the three definitions which defines the energy conservation. So energy conservation means to save energy or to use energy more efficiently. It doesn't mean that we should switch off all the light, fans just for saving the energy. No, it doesn't. It's simple. Wherever it is necessary, you use electricity. But where is unnecessarily usage is done, we should stop immediately. That is energy conservation. So next is need and advantages of energy conservation. So need first is, as we have seen, to reduce the gap between energy supply and energy demand, because as demand increases we cannot increase energy supply or the power plant because it requires lot of money and lot of time to complete the project. Hence this is not a feasible solution. So to reduce this gap, a simple step is to do the energy conservation. Now next is to save fossil fuel. If we reduce our demand, then there is a no increase in power plants, hence the fuel required for the power plant will get saved and which is available for the next generation. To reduce the pollution, as I have explained, if the demand is decreases, there is no need to increase energy supply, that is power plant. If energy supply or energy generation is not increased, then there will be a less pollution, because in India most of the generation is done by the coal, and we know that by burning of coal there is a production of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide which are emitted in the atmosphere, and because of this too there is a huge air pollution. So if we save energy or if we reduce energy consumption, then there will be a reduced pollution. Next, to reduce labor and maintenance cost, to get better cost per product, and to reduce cost of electricity. Obviously if we stop unnecessarily usage of electricity, then obviously we will get a less electricity bill at the month end. So these are the need of energy conservation. Now advantages. So advantages are, see, the needs can be converted into advantages by using simple steps. So if we do energy conservation, then there will be a less gap between energy supply and energy demand. Then next, it saves fossil fuels, reduce the pollution. If we do conservation, that is if we reduced our energy consumption, then there will be a reduced pollution, reduced labor and maintenance cost, better cost per product, and reduced cost of electricity. Obviously we are consuming less means we are getting the less electricity bill. Now next is energy audit. So what is energy audit? So there are three different ways to define. First is, it is a systematic approach to save energy. Second is, it is nothing but analysis of energy usage, and the third is, which is very simple one, energy audit means how much energy is being used, how much energy should be used, and how much energy can be saved. So by these three we can analyze our energy uses and we can do energy audit. So difference between energy conservation and energy audit. So energy audit is a part of energy conservation, or energy audit is a program of energy conservation. So by doing energy audit we can achieve the energy conservation. It doesn't mean that by doing energy conservation we can achieve energy audit. No. Under the energy conservation program, energy audit is a part. So energy audit, as we have seen, systematic approach for energy conservation. It took a very time, that is, if suppose we have to do energy audit of a company, then we must know how much energy is being used, how much energy actually should be used, and how much energy can be saved, or where are the different area in a company where we can save the energy. So for this analysis it will take a more time, and obviously we have to do report of whatever we have seen in the energy usage, and then we have to implement energy conservation activities. And obviously energy audit is a effective, but it is a lengthy process. So this we'll see in the last chapter in detail what is energy audit. Now Energy Conservation Act 2001, its relevant clauses of energy conservation. So this act is framed in the year 2001, and under this act there are some provisions made for the electricity generation, transmission, distribution, traders of electricity. So rules are made for consumers also and for the traders also. So what are the rules enacted in this program? And those are, the first is standards and labeling program. So this is one clause in act. We'll see under standards and labeling, that is S and L, standards and labeling program, following activities are done, that is involvement or evolve minimum energy consumption and performance standards for notified equipment and the appliances. So this point tells that some equipment has more energy consumption, that is they took more energy for getting their work. Such a equipment should be notified and their consumption should be written on their appliance or on the equipment. Prohibit manufacture, sale and import of such a equipment which does not conform to the standards, that is Indian standard. If the equipment is not up to the mark as per the Indian standard, then such a product or the such a equipment or such a appliance should be banned. Its sale should not be done and importing should be stopped. Next, introduce a mandatory labeling scheme for notified equipment. Notified means whose consumption is more, to enable consumers to make informed choices. And the last, disseminate information on the benefits to the consumers. Next is designated consumer. So this is one clause. Under this clause, following are the activities done. So first is, the government would notify energy intensive industries and other establishment as a designated consumer. So what is designated consumer? So designated consumers are those whose energy consumption is more. Energy consumption is more, and hence they are called as a designated consumer or energy intensive consumers. So which are they under this category? Which are the consumers comes here? Some list I have given: railways, port trust, transport sector, power stations, transmission and distribution companies, and commercial buildings or the establishment. So here some of the designated consumer I have listed whose consumption, electricity consumption is more. So for such a type of consumers, the government had laid down some rules, and those are: such a type of consumer should get energy audit done by an accredited energy auditor. Means it is mandatory to done energy audit of a designated consumer, and that by an accredited energy auditor. So it is compulsory. And the last, energy manager with prescribed qualification are required to be appointed or designated by the designated consumer. Means in such a type of industry whose consumption is more, then such a industry should appoint energy manager for looking after their energy consumption. Other than designated consumer and S&L program, different clauses are there. So here the fund is expected to give a thrust, that is a force, to R&D. R&D means research and development and demonstration in order to boost market penetration of efficient equipment and appliances. Government has providing funding for research and development. For what? For efficient equipment and appliances. Second is, it would support the creation of facilities for testing and development and to promote consumer awareness. Next, take all measures necessary to create awareness and disseminate information for efficient use of energy and its conservation. And the last, arrange and organize training of personnel and specialists in the techniques for efficient use of energy and its conservation. So through all this, we can draw a single conclusion that government is trying to create awareness among the consumer, because at the end the products are going to consumers for the usage purpose. So the consumer must aware about its products and its usage and its energy consumption. So government is time to time spreading awareness related to appliances whose consumption is less, who is more eco-friendly. So such a type of equipment and appliances are getting more importance nowadays. So by doing different advertisement, by doing some different techniques, such a awareness program is implemented through this government of India. So thank you. This is a lecture 1 where we have seen basics of energy conservation. So thank you once again.